Not happiness, not sadness, not anger. What does peace look like? Because you're going to still have all those emotions, but if you're not being able to sit here and go and center yourself from those emotions, then this is what's going to keep on controlling you if you're not being able to go and say, okay, it's time to calm myself down. What does your peace look like? That's what I really think that we need to start working on, is how to identify what would be a peaceful mindset for you. I've discovered mine.
Hey, family. Welcome to another episode of the Black Man's Roundtable. I am your host, Rodney Butler, and it's September. September is Suicide Prevention Month, and today we have on two very special guests. If you're a follower of the Black Man's Roundtable, these two gentlemen should be no strangers to you. You've seen them on here before, and they are specialists in this field, and I'm excited and very glad to have them on for such an occasion as Suicide Prevention Month, with us all knowing that our young men and boys are particularly, suicide rates are on a steady climb in that community of our young Black men and boys. So without further ado, let's bring on Mr. Kenneth Reddick and Dr. Kenneth Love. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
Greetings, my brother. I'm amazing, blessed.
I definitely want to start out by congratulating Dr. Kendrick Love on his earning his PhD. Brother, congratulations. I'm sure it is well earned. I know it is well earned.
Yes, it took a little bit to get here, so definitely, yes. So it is not a joke. It's not.
Absolutely. And also, Kendrick, you're the founder of Kendrick Love Behavior Counseling, LLC. And Kenneth, you are the CEO of the Brothers Brunch Foundation. Listen, gentlemen, we have a few conversation starters today. But before we get to those conversation starters, I would definitely like for you to tell our audience a little bit about your journey in getting where you are today. And I want to start with you, Kenneth. Tell us about your journey, brother.
Yeah, I am Kenneth Reddick. Actually, Kenneth Sober Scooter Reddick II.
Sober Scooter.
Most people know me as Sober Scooter out here because of, the work that I do in the community as a peer support specialist, as well as the CEO and founder of the Brothers Brunch Foundation. And Rodney, just to let you know too, we now have Constructive Resiliency LLC that focuses on, peer navigation and peer support as well.
Congratulations, brother.
Thank you. What started me on my journey, and one of the things especially with this being September Suicide Awareness Month, is that I am a 3-time suicide survivor. I was a 30-year alcoholic, but on top of all of that, I was an executive territory manager, platinum performer, pharmaceutical sales rep for 25 years. That was a Black man suffering in silence. And it started all the way back, as I look back at those adverse childhood experiences that had me going through a lot of the challenges that were unrecognized and undiagnosed, and the alcoholism that started in college, feeling the need to fit in. It truly had a hold of me for 30 years until I got sober 40 months ago, actually, 2/2/22. And
congratulations again, brother.
Thank you. And being able to be here to share my testimony in a society and demographic that normally does not recognize their mental health challenges, now I'm able to focus on that mental health awareness and that mental health fitness that is needed for us to mend, heal, and feel a difference in the community. So looking forward to sharing more of, the work that I do as we have this discussion. But I think that kind of sums up enough of kind of, what brought me to where I am today in the work that's being done in the community.
It absolutely does. And I appreciate your sacrifices. Kenneth, I appreciate your journey. Dr. Love, Kendrick, I want you to do the same thing, but I do want to let the people know that you are having some technical difficulties, but that's okay. We will get it fixed. We will work on it as we go through the program if we need to. That's not an issue. And I also want to warn the people that if I say Kendrick and mean Kenneth, if I say Kenneth and mean Kendrick, then look, hey, I'm only human, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I almost giggle when I have two guests on that have very similar names. But anyway, Dr. Love, tell us about your journey, brother.
Oh, sure, sure. I'm recently Dr. Kendrick Love Senior of Kendrick Love Behavior Consulting LLC. My background, oh gosh, is definitely where I started working with kids. So I was working kids in the school system. I was the title was called an intensive interventionist, which is basically I was the first responder to all types of behavior. So from small behavior to disagreeing with teachers, all the way up to a crisis level where our lives is in check. The uh, so the whole idea is that I had uh but yeah, so what ends up happening is I had to go and sorry that I heard my child, so sorry, daddy's ears is on also. So because
Yeah.
I'm a father of five, so I'm definitely when I hear my kids. But anyway, and mom got him.
Hey,
But
life be life, and even when you're doing a podcast.
life is life. And I can't definitely. So unfortunately, but definitely where I started working with them, and I've seen tragedy. I've had to go and pray to a young man as he passed on me from gunshot wounds. I've almost got shot by the police. I've been dislocated shoulders, stabbed, cut, bit, thrown against walls, headbutt. Definitely rushed to taken to the hospital by ambulance. But I've seen kids suffering, and I've definitely seen where some of the worst of suffering that you can get. I am diagnosed with 4 basic types of disorders because of going through so much crisis. So, and definitely PTSD, anxiety disorder, insomnia, and situational depression, which is basically where I can get triggered easy when I see something, especially children suffering. So a lot of this going on in the news is not therapeutic for me at all. But unfortunately, I work in this environment, so it's just comes with the job. I definitely, at the same time, I was suicidal. I went through it when I was in my teens, but my worst is when I was in 2019. 2019, I got real dark. And the blessing for me is that I was able to just at that point of when I was getting real dark, I started communicating that I was in my dark space, as well as I actually had a new opportunity to where I got a chance to work internationally. So I'm also international working in child behavior. So domestically and internationally. And and that was what helped clean me out a lot in what my struggles were. And I got a chance to see from the outside perspective of where a lot of struggles that we black men are going through. So it was a blessing for me to go and do that. And now I'm in a very good mindset, but I help out families. So I go there and I help them out to understand their children's behaviors. And then the thing is that I help out with the parents as well. So that it's a duality in how we work with how I help out families. So, but yeah, that's me in a short. That's the short version.
Thank you for that, brother. And I appreciate all the hard work that you do. I know from having you on before the amount of work, the amount of sacrifices, the amount of things that you have, physical, mental, psychological things that you've gone through working in our school systems with our youth. And I just want to extend again, man, just to let you know that we really appreciate that. I think when we first did this, I told you in my former life, when I retired from the military, that I was a special educator as well. And so I worked with autism, so I know exactly what you're talking about. And so definitely appreciate that. What we're going to start out with first is the thing in our community that kind of, I guess, haunts us the most when it comes down to mental health, suicide prevention, and all those kinds of things, which is stigma. What I'm going to try to do, Dr. Love, since you are having a few technical difficulties and you could go out, is I'll try to have Kenneth to start the conversation first So that way, if you were to go out or anything, you can just easily kind of jump back in because you know what we're talking about. So it shouldn't be an issue. So Kenneth,
Right.
I want you to start out this conversation about stigma. Now, I do believe in my heart of hearts and what I see out in these suites and these streets is that the taboo of it all, of mental health, is getting much, much better in our community. And I say our community, I'm talking about our community as Black Americans, African Americans, whatever you want to label us. It is getting better, day by day, it seems, month by month, year by year. But there's still a lot of stigma out there about mental health, about suicide, religious and otherwise. But what I want you to start the conversation out with is the stigma and how that stigma affects communicating mental health to our youth, in particular, our young Black men and boys.
Yeah, I mean, the stigma has been something that has pretty much been passed on from generations to generations, unfortunately. Most of the time in our settings, we have always thought every time someone said mental health that someone thought that that meant that something was wrong with them.
Right.
And so the stigma of, first of all, taking care of our mental health, let alone taking care of our mental health challenges, has been pretty much void in our communities. And then the reality is, I was actually just on a call earlier today, and one of the things that they were saying was that unfortunately, a lot of the voices that have been heard don't look like us. And so because they don't look like us, we don't think that it pertains to us. And for how many years have we gone through, that, oh, that doesn't happen to us. We as Black people, we don't commit suicide, or, not say commit suicide because that means that it's a crime, but we don't have death by suicide. But see,
Right.
that's the other part of it is, the verbiage that has been used. So I think that now what you're seeing is you're seeing more people that are speaking out, but unfortunately, especially with our Black men, we're leading in a lot of the suicide rates. And even our kids, as we think about it now, from the ages, I believe it's from 10 to 14, it's the leading cause of suicide at this point. And until we start healing the seeds that we have in our kids, because we have 5 to 6 generations of unhealed birth trauma, and those seeds that have been manifested are actually been breeding inside of these generations have now come to a head where people just aren't able to handle things on top of everything else in society. So what we have to start doing is healing the generations early and bridging that generational gap for mental health awareness. And that's where individuals like myself and Dr. Love are actually working with the youth, but also that's where I come in to work with the parents, the fathers as well, because we can talk about the youth, but if we don't get the parents involved and make it a holistic approach, and when I say whole, that's with a W, then we're going to continue to have all these generations that are just going to continue to have these seeds that will be birthed, and it will be more trauma and more mental health. So we have to address it proactively, same way like with my 8-year-old. He's been proactively in therapy for 2 years. So that stigma is broken. He looks forward to going to his therapist. And I can use him as a life coach the same way my child can, so that I can be the best parent and he can be the best child. And that's the gap that we've been missing for so long in our communities.
And look, Kenneth, I'm glad you said talking to the adults, to the parents, because even though we are focusing on the youth, black boys and black young men in particular, but we already know black boys and young black men are not going to be the ones looking at this podcast. So we are talking to you, the adult, the parent, but we're just focusing on young black men and young black boys. And the last thing before we move on to Dr. Love is I like the way you talked about these 5, 6, 7 generations of trauma being passed down. We talk about it a lot here on the Black Man's Roundtable. Epigenetics. epigenetics. We talk about it a lot. It is literally passed down through the genes. You've heard me talk about it at one of your events, Kenneth, as well. I am dead set on that, on epigenetics, and I think the more we realize that we have something that is passed down, that we didn't cause anything, I think we're more apt to open up about to seek or to keep it from being such a stigma, such, have that stigma around it. If we know that, look, the three of us can't control the way we look, right? I look just like my dad, right? Whatever. We can't control that. Well, you also can't control epigenetics either. So I think it'll make us feel a little bit comfortable. So I'm glad you talked about that, Kenneth.
Hey, and Rodney, real quick, when you just said that, I always tell people that we want to brag about how our kids look like us, but we don't talk about how they act like us.
You know what I'm saying, brother? I say all the time that, look, you can't beat you out of your kids. Dr. Love, join us, brother. Get in here.
Yeah, it's definitely excuse me y'all first, because I already wanted to choke one of my teenagers, because he coming up in here and he's like all being loud. So I'm like, what are you doing? So it lets you understand, right? So I was like, oh my God, I'm trying to be professional in here. It is being Dr. Love in here. It is you coming up here. So I just want to let y'all know, man. This is my house. Brother. So, yes, but yeah, it's definitely it's seeing a lot, and again, working in crisis, and because I lived two lives basically, where here it is, the struggles that I had before I got to working with kids, and then sitting here watching the struggles that I'm sitting here watching, and definitely where I've seen a lot of young males they going through it. And it has been times where I've actually had to jump in front. Like one young man, I got a Superman Batman cape for it, because I jumped and grabbed him just before a car hit us both. So I did the little Tom Cruise thing where you had to go and do some action mess. And it has been, it's definitely been serious. And the problem is that, because I worked in Defiance, so I worked with the EBD, so those who are diagnosed with some type of emotional behavior disorder. And now you're seeing the increase in much more mental health issues that young males are going through. That's the concern. So it was where once it was defiant behavior, but now you're actually seeing a huge increase of mental disorders. So, oh yeah.
All right, great. And again, man, because of the work you've done in the past, some of the work you're doing now, you get to see a lot of it where it starts at, or where it manifests itself, and that is, in our schools. So again, just appreciate it out there, man. Next, I want us to talk about, and again, Kenneth, we'll start with you, about barriers. And one of the barriers that we have is just a distrust or a mistrust, I should say, of our healthcare, right? Going all the way back to the Tuskegee experiments and stuff, with syphilis and all kinds of things that we've had as Black people in America, with a mistrust in healthcare. Well, guess what? Mental health is healthcare. I like to tell people all the time, we'll go to the doctor for anything that's happening to us from the neck down. But boy, from the neck up, we just be like, well, it'll be okay. It'll fix itself. No, mental health is health care. And so, but a stigma definitely exists. We'll say in a minute, we ain't letting them people get in our head. They get in our head, they won't come out, and all that stuff. But I want you brothers to talk briefly about the mistrust that we have in our healthcare, in our mental health care system, and how can we maybe improve it. Kenneth, we'll start with you.
Sounds good. Well, let me tell you, for my first 14 years in the pharmaceutical industry, I actually sold neuroscience psychotropic medications. At the current time, I take my psychotropic medication to make sure that my mood is stabilized. It's something that, like you said, there is a stigma, but let me ask you about this. We'll go and we'll have a drink to make us feel good. We'll use other illicit drugs that we think that make us feel good, but we don't realize the impact how damaging that could be to the neurotransmitters to actually have our mood never be regulated. But we don't want to take a medication to actually help us be better. A lot of that is due to lack of education. We don't understand what the other drugs that we're using that we think help us feel better, and we don't take time enough to understand how the others may help us out. And I think that that's what a part of it is. But then a lot of it just goes back to just pray about it. We thinking somebody is trying to poison us, but then truly these are tools that can assist us. And the other part is we don't understand that sometimes taking those medications, the feeling that we start to feel actually is a feeling of normalcy. So we're used to being on those highs. We're used to being manic. We're used to feeling a certain type of way, that once we start to feel normal, and that creativity even is not even as that high, and we're not that same person that's that entertainer or that people always thinks is so hype and the life of the party, then we think that there's something wrong. But actually, I think a lot of times we're afraid of the medications because we've never actually understood what normal felt like in life. And so I think that there has to be more advocacy, more speaking out from individuals like myself, individuals like Dr. Love and other advocates that are out here. And that's a common issue, is that ain't nothing wrong with me. I don't need no medication, versus what medication might be able to help me be or support me being a better person when it comes to my mood, my relationships, my job, or whatever it may be that may be impacted by my mental health challenges.
The interesting part is that because of working with kids, I've seen kids that's going through depression so bad that they ended up having it to where they were like a 10-year-old high, because he's been smoking weed. There was nothing to sit here and come across a 10-year-old that's high that came up to school that's smoking some weed in my past of working with kids.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that was also is like what you're saying, which is where the education needs, and that's why I'm glad you're up here, is because there's a huge thing of education that is needed to for help parents understand about meds. Because one of the things I'm also seeing is that, I work with, especially since I started having my consultancy, that I now go and testify for families in courts. And so I'm also with defects, and I sit in, like just yesterday when I sat in with one family to help with a defects referral, so that I can go and tell and give a testimony to the defects to let them understand that here is what the work is that the parent is doing. And one of the things, that stipulations that they're throwing on now, is that the child has to be taking some meds. So when they're going off to when they're having to be with looking for services, or they're getting in a lot of trouble, that child, what they do is they say, well, here, you're going to take this med. And then if the parent does not give the med or does not feel comfortable with the med, then what happens is it can be held against the parent for neglect and those types of things. So it's where, let's get this point of where we can understand, we parents need to know how to ask, or, okay, if there's a med that's for my child, what is the right type of med? I don't understand this med, or any of those things. And yes, it is where what's happening is, like I see it so much times with kids, I'm going to give you this med for you to give to your child. And because some parents using it just, okay, it's meds, some parents are like, okay, well, I'm forced because this is what they're telling me to do. And there's no knowledge at all. And that's one of the reasons why I've always said I'm not for nor against, because I don't know enough. But I'm glad that Mr. Kenneth is up here. I almost called you Doc, but it's definitely where he is. Yes, man. I'm sorry that, but anyway, so it's definitely where he's. I would definitely suggest he's definitely in a good space. He's definitely a person that's needed in what's going on right now. So because I can tell you, it is where I've seen so many times of this was used, and it's not used properly, misused, or it's not used at all.
Yeah, and it's wild because when you guys talk about like the medicine, people say, first thing they'll say is, well, it's making me feel, the medicine making me feel funny. No, it's making you feel normal. But of course,
Yeah.
if you're not used to, normal or abnormality is funny. to you? Not funny, haha, but it feels, strange. Funny, strange, not funny, haha. But yeah, so I think that is something that that I've heard. I'm sure you guys have heard it. And so, so if the young person say, because again, we're focusing on them, but we're talking to parents and grown folk, adult folk. Well, it makes me feel funny. It's probably making them feel normal. So, but anyway, because we still have so much to cover, we're going to move into some prevention and intervention stuff. Which I know we having a little difficulties or whatever technical, but Dr. Love, I want you to start with this one first because you specialize so much into prevention and intervention, and I just want you to talk about some signs that families and friends and educators can look out for when we're looking at our young people specifically, and our young Black men and young Black boys specifically.
Oh yeah. Glad to jump in on that one. The number one thing I think that the biggest red flag, it's hard to see because it's the forest through the trees, socialization. Look at their environment. So here it is, and there is a ecological study that's out there that's where you can definitely use and I can, if they come visit me, and I'll be able to go and share the information of who it is. But I would say that the socialization, the child's 90% of a child's behavior is from their environment. So how the environment is affecting them. Like I always said to the parent, okay, are you dealing with some traumatic situations? Are you dealing with depression? What are you dealing with as well, so we can help you out? Because, okay, but that's not the only thing. Let's also go, how are you getting out? Are you doing church? Do you think, are you faith, do you believe in God? Do you believe in the word? Okay, well, when the last time you've been to church? Are you part of church programs? Do you go out to PTA meetings? And not just to sit here and hoping that you're going to argue with the teacher, but to get knowledge. Is your child playing in the park? This is also good for the parent. Do you go to the park? Do y'all family walks? What about your relationships with your extended family, like your parents? So it's a lot of where the kids at, to where the biggest issue I have, again, of what I'm seeing that progresses into adulthood is that what was the child doing before what kind of socialization that child? We used to be able to go outside and play. We can't do that anymore. So it's where, like I always tell everybody, is that this point of where we're blaming parents, but I'm like, that's not exactly how it used to be. Parents led the community, but it was the community. We always said this, it takes a village. And so what ends up happening is that now the village is blaming mom or blaming the parents. And usually I'm going to say the truth is usually where they're going to say they're going to blame mom. So the village is sitting here now. What's happening is the village is saying, you're the fault, instead of the village saying, we are the fault. We are. And so with that, then that means that now we got, because of that situation, there's nothing but a bunch of isolation in a house. He's going to his room on his headphones and sitting here and thinking that that's actually helping him. That's not helping. That is not helping at all. Socialization. We are mammals built to be social. And the whole idea is that we're not doing that. We have decreased it so much. So the one strategy that I always have is that we got to build up a socialization for you, not just your child, but you as well. Let's go and sit there and develop a world for you all, and not just in front of the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Kenneth, want to hit on this, some prevention and interventions and things that we can tell parents and friends?
Well, like I always say, first of all, take care of mental health, period. Mm-hmm. Prevention is doing the preventative measures before they get to a certain point. But we as a community, we want to react after certain things happen. Some things are dictated by society and where funding and resources are, but we could start right at home with our kids, just like Dr. Love mentioned. Hey, we have to make sure that socialization even starts with us. How many times are we fussing about the child being on the game versus sitting there and playing the game with the child? Those are socialization things that, just like he said, we as parents, we have to do the work. That's why one of the things that I have done to be preventative, even at my son's school, is yeah, I can go in and I can talk to the kids, but having a program to actually get the dads involved increases that end of the number of students that will be successful in not
Yeah.
only taking care of their mental health, but possibly having less mental health challenges along the way because we've created a different family environment. And as
Yeah.
I'm talking to the youth about the things that are needed for them, I use the same pretty much curriculum for the dads and the fathers and the men that I work for. So that's why I say we have to continuously bridge this gap, because even when I've worked with some of the younger men, the one thing they say is, you all put a new meaning to Ankh because you are listening. So part of the prevention also is us as parents to listen to our kids. It's a new day. It's a new time. And if my son was not proactively in therapy, I would probably be navigating him some of the wrong ways. And I say we have to shift the narrative too of the running joke that I always say, but it's so true. We all suffer from PTSD. It's called parenting, because parents parent out of traumas, and we don't realize how much we are feeding into the mental health challenges of our kids. So yes, there's a lot that can be done for our kids, but we have to start early, because if it's not done by 14, a lot of times we might be too late.
Absolutely. I think this is a perfect time for me to say it one more time. You cannot beat you out of your kids. That's what I'm hearing.
Have you
That's
seen
what
my
I'm hearing.
t-shirt, Rodney? I got a t-shirt that says you can't cuss, fuss, or beat you out your child.
I have not, but you know what? I think I want one. I'll tell you that. I think I want one. But yeah, and also I like what you guys talked about too when you're talking about, because like I said, mental health is health. It is healthcare. Mental health is healthcare. And so, and I think Kenneth, I think you talked about the the tools, that you use the same tools to talk with the, you know, with the father or with the parent as you do with the child. But guess what? It's the same way when you go to the doctor. They might use a different blood pressure cusp or cup or whatever it's called to
Yep.
measure your blood pressure,
Yep.
but they don't change out the whole doggone machine. They just use a different the thing around the arm, whatever it's called. I'm not a medical person, but so we have to do the same thing. Our young people are just miniature. First of all, we have to understand that they are not us. They are not us. They are their own individual folks, but they are kind of miniature versions of us. And so we just have to use maybe sometimes smaller, more comfortable tools to get them to understand mental health and all of these things that you guys talking about, but we still use the same machinery, if you will. So I definitely thought that I appreciate the way you guys brought that home.
Yeah, because I would say
And
one of the best.
Dr. Love, I was going to say, did you want to finish out anything before we
Yeah.
move to the next topic?
Well, I was just saying that one of the best preventatives also is just have your family go for a walk. Take walks at least 3 times a week. It could be for 30 minutes, 45 minutes. If the entire family just go for a walk, that's it. You don't even have to talk because it'll naturally take over.
Be amazed at what little things like that can do. Like you saying, walks, just eating dinner together, all these things make such a huge difference, and it's so easy to do. We're going to move into a little bit of community, and you guys had already started talking about community. I said, look at God, they know how to do it. But we're going to move a little bit into community and still within culture, but the role of Black fathers, mentors in the school, Dr. Love, Black men out here on these streets, Kenneth, let's talk about the prevention efforts that men in particular, because we're focusing on Black boys and Black men, but the role that grown men like us can play in the schools, out in these streets, with helping our young boys with this growing suicide rates. Kenneth, let's start back with you, sir.
Okay. I'd like to get, first of all, awareness.
Mhm.
I mean, until we touch on awareness of mental health, then we still focusing on the back end, like you say, the prevention. One of the things that we have to do as men is, first of all, put our oxygen mask on first. We have to make sure that we're doing the work that we have to do. I can't tell my son to do nothing. I can't tell these young men to do nothing that I'm not doing. And I have people sometimes that will keep me in check, especially when it comes to my self-care. They'll say, Scooter, you run around and do everything for everybody else, but what are you doing for yourself? And I have my mental health checklist for myself. And I know when I am off. So if we can start proactively understanding who we are, as someone says, we can't know how we are until we know who we are.
That's right.
And so part of that knowing who we are is knowing our foundation mentally, because we don't even know when we're off half the time. We don't know what it is. Like, I know if I'm frustrated, I'm gonna check my sleep. I'm gonna check my activities. Is it time for me to go to the chiropractor? Because my neck might be tense a little bit. So I think that we have to take that step back the same way we do with our cars to make sure that our tires are rotated, our oil is flushed, and we have our oil changed and everything else. We got to do that same thing with our mental. And until we start to do that and keep that awareness going in the community, not just in the church, not just in the school, not just in whatever fraternity or whatever, it has to be all across the community. And we have to also stop just trying to keep it where everybody comes to us, because the only way the healing is going to take place is when we start going out and showing and making the difference for ourselves, our families, and ultimately the community that we serve, as I always say.
Dr. Love, Black fathers,
Yeah,
Black teachers, Black mentors. Talk about it, sir.
yeah. I use this analogy. So again, because I help out families. So one of the things that I've definitely in my work I've realized. So I say 5 words. And these 5 words I go off because I had a conversation. The last conversation I had about this is with my own father to show the value of fathers and how serious it is. You have father, daddy, dad, old man pops. Father, daddy, dad, old man pops. In my work, just losing the father alone, just not having a father, you have to replace. It's going to take between 2 to 200 individuals to replace that father. That's just father. We're not even talking about daddy. We're not talking about dad. We're not talking about old man pops. Just father is going to. Because what you have to understand is that, okay, well, now that the father's not here, that means that we got to find some type of male that's there. So now we got to go through this process. But as a child gets older, then that's when you now getting to where here it is, you're going to have to start finding a mentorship. But now that the child, like he said, when the child gets at age 14, now that child is definitely set into what we call the intensive intervention stage. So now you got to go and find real help. So now we're going to have therapists, psychiatrists, but not just them, police officers, probation officers. We got to have all kinds of intensive now. And that's at dad phase. So when you got a chance to sit here when the child has not had any, we just talking about father alone. Because when we get to daddy, that's right there. How many of our kids are calling us daddy? So when we talk about that mental health issue and it comes along with these 4 words, that's where the importance to me is that you have to go and make sure that paying attention to what the value of what this guy is, where's his head at, what is he doing, how is he trying to mentor, because he's going to be the rock that's going to set the setting for the rest of whatever is going to be coming around that child. And that man's mental health is definitely what's going to be playing also, because children, especially their sons, can pick up their mannerisms from their father. They can pick up their mental issues easily from their father. So that's the point, is where we have to make sure. And that is a young black male can sit here and mess up an entire environment just because of the troubles that he's going through. And so as I'm working and I'm seeing all these services for this one young man, when here it is, the one thing that needs to be happening is he needs to be belonging. He needs to be able to have somebody that he can go in and then go to with hugs, like get those Maslow's hierarchy of needs with this young man as quick as you can. So those are the things that I see. That's definitely where the importance come in for what happens at a child's beginning all the way up to where we're at the age that we're at now. So it's definitely yeah. Anyway, so
Yes, sir. There's an African proverb. I hope I don't mess it up, but it says, "When an old man dies, it's 1,000 libraries die," or something like that.
yeah.
So yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely want to. We have so much to offer. We have so much to offer as
Yeah.
men, as mentors, people. We've all been in places. We've been black men all of our lives, and we know that when we go into places, some places, especially with young boys, young men, it changes the atmosphere of the room. And I think that sometimes we need to take advantage of that. We need to take advantage of our sphere of influence with young men and young boys, and do the things that you gentlemen, have spoke so eloquently about, when it comes down to the role and what we can do in the community. Let's move right into our last area that I want to talk about, and that is solutions and going forward and moving forward. And I want to talk about two things under that. And Dr. Love, well, you're the PhD on the panel here, so definitely want to start with you on this topic of moving forward, and that is sticking to culturally. Our suicide prevention programs, just like in the medical field, the physical medical field, we are not the baseline, right? So I'm always a proponent of, look, my blood pressure, for instance, right? It was always, 125 over 84, 85, even when I was 24 years old in the United States Army running 6-7 miles a day. And so my baseline might be a little different. It's like, well, you got elevated blood pressure. It's like, really? I mean, measured against who or whom? I don't know, right? So I don't know if we just know that our baselines are not was utilized to measure everybody else, right? We know that it's typically in the physical medical field, it's typically, your white man. That's everybody's baseline is off that. The same thing happens in our mental health community, mental health field. And what I want you guys to talk about is maybe some of the cultural differences, the cultural differences that our parents and our adults, our grown folk, might look at and say, well, you know, they're not using the metric that need to be used for my child, and those kind of things. I'm not asking you to break any. I know you guys are not. Neither one of you guys have MD behind your name, but what I do know is that you guys do enough work in the field to be able to talk a little bit about the cultural responsiveness, especially when we talk about suicide, to some of the programs that are maybe geared to young black men and young black boys. And Dr. Love, I would love to start with you on that. No pun intended.
It's cool. I would say my best education was not from the States. It was when I left the country and I actually lived in another culture. And it taught me a whole lot about what we're missing. The thing about it is that we don't know because we're on the field all the time. We have no idea how much anxiety that we carry. That's why if you ever any kind of friends or any brothers that that has moved out of the United States and they're like, man, I'm not coming back here, it's because of we live completely in anxiety. So that's one of the biggest reasons I feel that there's one of the biggest reasons why black men have the shortest lifespan. we live in a consistent of you having to know everything, even though it's impossible to know everything. We having to know how we got to be higher trained in interactions with police officers than police officers have to be with us. So the point of it, so when we're saying what's the cultural problem to me is that we don't see how much anxiety we're living in. We have no idea about it until you get out of it. And then once you get out of it and you're able to go look back, you can see what in the world. I had to, before I moved back to the States in 21, I started watching nothing but violent police videos of what they've either shot or beat up on some black man. I had to watch all those videos. And my lady, she was like, okay, she says, why are you watching so many violent videos? And I said, I got to get my anxiety back up because I done got too comfortable to the point to where I walk down the street. I'll misunderstand that I'm walking down the street and I walk past a police officer thinking that everything is okay, while this officer could be looking at me with, okay, you look like a suspect. So that was the point of where I got a chance to see how men are treated in another cultural space, and it showed how much that we're lacking. And that was that's what saved me from my depression. That's what helped. That's what cured me, is when I was able to see this is how you can be treated. This is how you're supposed to be acknowledged. This is how the conversations go. It was a whole thing of where you were able to be treated like a human being, not a target. There was no type of, okay, well, we're going to say that you're this, and now you got to prove that you're not. It's like you're walking guilty every day. So so definitely where when I say the mental health, how mental health is formed, because you're being isolated. You're always having to be watching your back. You're always having to sit here and go and try to defend yourself. It is a 9-to-5 job to sit here and go and try to go and defend and try to make yourself innocent. So that's what I saw anecdotally from just my experience of living in another country.
Yes, sir. Kenneth, if you can talk again about what a culturally responsive prevention program for young Black boys and men, what does that look like to you?
First of all, it takes having the men and mentors that are healing to be able to address the youth. I think what happens so many times is that we step out in some of these spaces to be mentors to help the youth, but are we truly on the appropriate healing journey for ourselves? I think that a lot of times we focus on things culturally, but what I'm understanding is mental health side too, especially being a peer, is even though I have my own lived experiences, still everyone is unique. And I think so many times we try to package everything for a culture, for a Black man, for a Black boy. But we still have to realize that each person has their own individual struggles. Each person has gone through their own individual adverse childhood experiences. And I think that one of the things that we have to identify as a culture is that we are all unique. And I always refer back to that phrase that says, it's okay to not be okay. I say, it's okay to not be your okay. But how do we find out what our okay is? And how are we able to help our children find out their okay if we don't even know what our okay is? So I think a lot of the prevention is doing the work for ourselves so that we can truly be present. Even with Brothers Brunch Foundation, the principles of PCP, positive, consistent, and present. I mean, I could sit up here and be positive and talk to a young man all day, but if I'm not consistent, or even me doing positive things for myself, I lose presence for myself. I lose presence for my family, my children, and ultimately the children and the community that we're serving. So I think that sometimes it's a little bit more work for ourselves to truly be able to assist the youth. But we have to continue to create this awareness proactively. And that's the thing I would keep getting back to is, what are the resources? What are we utilizing early on to identify those things that maybe my parents didn't identify with me? So just proactive interventions around mental health. And that's why I know Dr. Love has some resources. I have some resources. I got some more resources that are coming out to specifically address this at a younger age, so that we're not having our children get into these tough situations that they may encounter because they're starting to do the mental health work early on. So prevention is doing the work early on versus after the fact.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm
sir. And I'm
sorry because I
glad
don't
that
think
you
I've answered the
go.
question.
Go ahead, Dr. Love. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dr.
Yeah,
Love.
and I definitely, because I want to make sure to even compliment what he was saying, is that prevention. I think that what we need to do is we need to go and identify anxiety. We need to be able to go and see what it is, because the truth of the matter is that, what does your peace look like? Exactly what he's saying, that everybody has their own battles. So what I've definitely discovered is that you need to know, what does peace look like to you? Not happiness, not sadness, not anger.
Good.
What does peace look like? Because you're going to still have all those emotions, but if you're not being able to sit here and go and center yourself from those emotions, then this is what's going to keep on controlling you, if you're not being able to go and say, okay, it's time to calm myself down. What does your peace look like? That's what I really think that we need to start working on, is how to identify what would be a peaceful mindset for you. I've discovered mine. And that's one of the things I definitely would say with him, to go on to what he was saying, to compliment what he was saying.
And Doc, real quick, just to that point, 2 weeks ago, we had one of our Tuesday night tune-ups for the black men. And the topic was, brother, what is your peace? Because that's the thing, is that we truly, to get back what you were saying, when we find peace with ourselves, it's not that it's going to be easy, but it's going to be easier to help our families and our children be peaceful. But if we don't even know what our peace is, how can we offer up peace to someone else?
Because I definitely would say, it's definitely where I like this story where you're saying hard. And again, I go back to what I learned overseas. So excuse me on that. But it was the best lessons in life. I watch people who are living so much less than us live in conditions that would kill us, but find peace in it. I always say that I watched a man sit in 115-degree weather, the sun beaming down, not including the humidity, and he sits on a rock, or a stone that was from the war, when we had the war in Kuwait. And it's the silhouette of a man, because I'm on the 10th floor in my AC watching this dude, and this guy sitting laughing, no water in his hand, this old man. And he's watching, as a spectator, watching them play soccer in the sand. And what that taught me, especially because I stayed in the poor district, that find your peace in whatever it is that you're doing. And it taught me that. And that was my lesson in life. And that's one of the things that I definitely would sit there. So you got the hard work. We got it. Brothers, we definitely know how to speak on that. But we don't know how to go and find our peaceful solutions. We don't know how to go and say, okay, it's okay to sit down and drink a cup of coffee. It's okay to sit here and go and say, I love you. It's okay to say that to my brother. Peace and blessings. It's okay to sit here and go and not keep looking around your shoulders. It is okay for that there. So that's the point when I definitely when I say that I go with almost called you Doc again. So but yeah, Kenneth. So I'm sorry. So yeah, but anyway, yeah.
We're gonna give him an honorary before this program is over with.
Look at man, he gonna send me back. Hey, he gonna send me back to school. That's what he trying to do.
But yeah, gentlemen, it definitely and when I talk about mental health, I like to counter it with physical health, because that's what's in our community, in our culture. Like, we will go to a doctor if we have proper insurance. The slightest little bump, on our arm, on our leg. We are zooming. We are in the emergency room and everything. And so I want to, and that's why I like to kind of put those two things together and constantly remind people that mental health is physical health. And so, but I do like the way that Kenneth, I like the way that you talked about, no, you was about to say something, Kenneth, real quick?
I was going to say, the way I put it, and I put this on the shirt too, mental health is not a diagnosis.
I've seen that.
Once we understand that mental health is not a diagnosis, and that mental health challenges or mental health illness is, then we can start taking care of our mental health the same way we take care of our physical health, as you're saying. But that's a reprogramming as well. As we talk about how do we look at preventative measures, we gotta shift that whole narrative about how we think of mental health. And until then, it won't be any work done. Thank you.
Exactly. And I don't want to give, like in this special program, we talked about culture a lot. And yes, we do have a unique culture because our culture is forced upon us through institutional racism and all kinds of isms, right? And so we have to deal with certain elements that no other community has to deal with throughout the world. And I'm someone that's been on 6 of the 7 continents, and I've never seen anything as unique as Black Americans, African Americans, simply because of chattel slavery and the things that we've been through epigenetically and all this other stuff we talked about earlier, right? But I don't want to use culture as an excuse, because it's not. And like you said, Kenneth, mental health is very individualized, just like physical health, right? And so, but at the same time, we have things in our community that contributes to our mental health, which is causing for the suicide rates in young boys and young Black boys and young Black men to skyrocket. And we have to deal with the cultural, but not giving the cultural, not giving an excuse to the culture to say, well, this is why. Because it's no different from Dr. Love. It's no different from when we have a kid on an IEP or on a 504 plan, right? That's very individualized. The I stand for individual, okay, education program or whatever, right? So therefore, but at the same time, there's a diagnosis that all those kids fall up under. We have to follow up under something in order to treat, right? But I do not ever want, and that's why I'm so glad that Kenneth brought it up and you kind of honed in on it as well, Dr. Love, is that I don't ever want us to get so caught up into, it's just our culture, it's just the way that it is. No, we have a lot of things that cause a lot of disease, okay? Disease, which is meaning our bodies, our minds are not at ease, okay? It is dis-ease. And yes, we deal with those things individually, but yes, we do have to understand the culture around it. So I'm glad you guys brought that up. But look, let's move right into our last category, which is that I want you guys to talk about, is probably one of the most important ones, which is solutions. And I want for you guys to, Kenneth, we'll start with you first. I want for you guys to just look in the camera, man, and just, if there's any young Black boys, young Black men out there listening, to just send a message to them about if they're struggling with mental health, if they're having suicidal ideations and those kind of things, just Kenneth, let them know, man. Look in the camera, just let them know some things that they can do.
Yeah, first of all, I say this is that we all have a purpose and we all have a plan in life. I thought it was meant for my plan and my purpose to end, but I realized that I truly never found my purpose because I was focused on everything outside of me that I thought that would make me happy. But as Dr. Love mentioned, as we discussed earlier, that peace is truly within us. As someone that has struggled, there's nothing wrong with getting the support that we need. I think so many times, especially as Black men and Black boys, we don't want no help because we think we've been taught that we need to go through. But we all need support in life. And we need support with our mental health. I mean, for me, I have to stay in peer groups, even if it's not specifically mental health, just to stay in some positive environments to keep my cup full. We have to make sure that those people, places, and things that may be triggering for us, that we get that healing that we need. Because a lot of times we don't realize that a lot of things that may frustrate or upset us, maybe just because of some things that we hadn't healed from in the past, no matter what age it may be. Because we've all gone through different adverse childhood experiences, but then we also have to remember that there are some positive childhood experiences in life as well. So I extend my hand of support for you, for the community, for anyone that needs, because I mean, hey, I have Brothers Brunch Foundation, but I utilize resources like NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness, that I present for, but I've also held space in groups for. Support is what we need, and support is what we're here for. And if I'm here and I'm still alive, you should be too. Thanks
Thank you,
for
sir.
having me, and thanks for letting me say that, Rodney.
Absolutely, brother. Always. Dr. Love, Dr. Kendrick Love, talk to us, brother.
Yeah. All right. So I want to talk to Dad, and I want to talk to the young brother. So
Yes,
I hope you're paying attention to. So the whole idea is, and I am talking to you. So the first thing first is that for the young fella, the best thing for you to do right now is stop isolating yourself. Go and talk to somebody. Talk. Say hello. You don't have to go and say, you don't have to have a monologue. You don't got to have no Thanos monologue or nothing of that nature. All you got to do is just go and say, hey, how you doing? What are other things that you can sit there and say is, you can actually just sit next to a male, and that's it. That can help you. Don't go and isolate yourself. All those dark thoughts that you're having, go talk to your homeboy. And then after you start feeling better, go and start talking to some male that you trust. And I know you know that there's some older male that you do trust. Go talk to him. Go and seek him out and talk to him. Do not walk and do this by yourself. Dad, you are doing good. Despite whatever is being said, and I am speaking to you, I'm not selling you nothing. I'm not. If you are being called daddy, dad, old man, pops, you have done good. You want to learn how to do more, that even makes you even better. But if you have that title, you're doing good. Talk. We men out there are male groups. You can contact Mr. Kenneth over here to where we're actually making sure to go and have it to where dads can be able to share with dads. So I want you to be able to understand you are doing good. Hats off to you. No, it is not easy. It isn't. And I definitely understand the struggles that you have as a father and a son. I was depressed when I was a son, and I was suicidal when I was a son, and I was suicidal when I was a father. So I got a chance to be on both spectrums of those things, and I was able to work my way out. How I was is because I was able to find peace. I was able to accept that I'm not perfect. I was able to accept that the work needs to be done. I started exercising and I started communicating. So I have no fear anymore of communicating my struggles. So I want to make sure, Dad, get up out that chair. Go find a homeboy. Go to a church if you need to. And the reason why I keep saying church, I'm not trying to throw God on nobody, but church is cheap, is free. Programs are there. So you can go there. If you don't want to go and sit in the sanctuary, go get in a program. There are plenty of male programs in a church function. If you need to, go to a community. Go find somewhere and talk. Don't do it by yourself. Don't. That I can guarantee you, and it'll get better as you keep doing it. So let's start off small, but as you keep going, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And don't be afraid to side hug a brother. Don't do it. Don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid to sit here and show your emotions. None of that. You're not weak at all. I don't have no problem crying. And the fact of the matter is, I done been in enough dangerous situations where when they needed to call somebody to go up into that situation, I was brother that they would call. but I don't have no problem crying in front of not every single man in a room, letting them know and saying to every single one of those brothers, I love you. And I'm not talking about any of those insecurity type. I love you. I love you as a brother, and I love the work that you're doing, and you keep on pushing. And you, young brother, keep pushing. Don't isolate. That's what I want to say to both of you. Keep pushing. Don't isolate. Go talk.
Thank you for that, Doc. And look, like you, man, I'm the same way, brother. I'm proud to wear my emotion on my sleeves. You can call me a punk. You can call me what you want, but I bet you I get it all
Right.
out. I guarantee you that. So look,
Right.
gentlemen, it is great having two brothers like yourselves, man, to be able to reach out to in the month of September and all throughout the year. I know that I can call on you brothers, man, if I need some expertise on mental wellness, mental health. I know that I have you two brothers, man, that I can reach out to, shoot you a text, shoot you an email, shoot you something. And I know that if you guys can fit it in, I know that you guys will be right here, man, to talk to this community, this following of the Black Man's Roundtable. And you guys know you are family. You are here. You are alumni. You are always welcome here. And I appreciate having you here, man. So look, especially like I said, for the month of September, man, and especially with our young Black boys and young Black men with the death by suicide rate growing so rapidly, we really do need you. But look, before I let you guys get out of here, man, I have to let folks know how they can reach you, things that you may have coming up in the near future that you may want them to know about. And we will start with you, Dr. Love. Let the folks know how they can reach you, man. Let them know if you got anything coming up that you think they need to know about.
Sure. First thing first, how to contact me. First name, last name, KendrickLove.com. Simple. Kendrick Love, KENDRICK, Love, LOVE.com. There. Projects that I have, the one that's coming up is that we're actually having a parenting class. And in that parenting class, it is not about judgment. It's about breaking down behaviors, letting you understand the cognitive functions, the biases, all of those things. We're breaking all of that down, anxiety. And then after that, we're going to start showing how to let's break down each stressor that's happening in your house. So if you're sitting there saying, I want to stop yelling at my kid. I want to stop looking at my kid as an enemy. I want to stop feeling so angry all of the time. Then this is the class that's for you that you can be able to come, that you can be able to join. I also have a parent support group that comes on Thursdays. So my parent classes will be starting next Tuesday at 6:30. You go into our website, you'll be able to go and sign up for it. Our parent support group is on Thursday nights at 7. And there it's just where we get with parents and being able to go and share their frustrations, but also their success. So we're able to sit here and talk about those things. So those are the two things that I'm working on that's immediate. And if you are looking for, and you say, I'm tired of this and I want to learn a new strategy, come to me, KendrickLove.com.
Thank you, Dr. Love. Kenneth Sober Scooter Reddick II. Let them know how they can reach you, brother. What you got coming up?
Hey, you already told them one way. You can always look up Kenneth Sober Scooter Reddick II, and he gonna pop right up because there's one and only. You know what I'm saying? But hey, the Brothers Brunt Foundation. Hey, either through Googling it, Facebook, IG. Also, we'll be having our actually coming up next month, we'll have our second Black Men's Wellness Retreat down in Warm Springs, Mystic Woods. On November 1st, we'll have our second annual Movember to Remember, which focuses on Black men and suicide awareness, because many don't know that November is Men's Suicide Awareness Month specifically. And then December 7th, we will be having our fourth annual Black Man's Holiday Relaxation at the Place of Kai. But in the meantime, in between time, every second Tuesday, we got the Tuesday night mental health tune-up that we have that's hybrid. So we have men popping from all over the U.S. and even Costa Rica that pop on to have intentional conversations, as we call it, a safe and sacred space. And when it comes to the constructive resiliency, we're going to start some holistic wellness groups, as well as some more more specific peer groups. And as you know, hey, we're starting to be in the schools as well, just getting the dads involved. And at my son's school now, we got 80 dads signed up. And every first Monday, we out there opening car doors. And hey, we want to see if we could take that on the road to other schools as well, so that we can truly, hey, as I keep saying, bridge that generational gap for mental health awareness. So thank you again, my brother Rodney, for having us on. And Dr. Love, hey, my brother, this is only the beginning, man. We about to be on the road together.
Yes, definitely. And I bet $1 million that with that 80 that you have in those fathers, I can guarantee you that the suspension rate has declined greatly, like a big decline. I bet $1 million on it.
Well, I tell you what, if we're gonna have Kendrick Love and Kenneth Reddick on the road together, it better have 6 lanes, buddy, because I'm telling you, you guys, you brothers bring it. You brothers bring it. Anyway, gentlemen, appreciate it. Always look forward to having you guys on. But boy, the subject matter is always a little difficult. But look, someone has got to talk about it, and what better people than you two brothers to talk about this on this platform in particular called the Black Man's Roundtable. I appreciate you and can't wait to see you brothers in them suites and in them streets. So anyway, appreciate you guys being on. So with that, catch the Black Man's Roundtable podcast the 3rd Thursday of the month. Also catch the Black Man's Roundtable Roundup with Rodney and Rodney the 2nd Thursday of the month. And the Black Man's Roundtable Local Lookout with Rodney and Bobby the 1st Thursday of the month. All episodes drop at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Until next time, we'll see you in them suites and them streets. Peace. Hey, family. If you like what you saw, visit our website at blackmansroundtable.com for more information or to check out more content. Until next time, we'll see you in them suites and them streets. Peace.